Hi guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The final run to the World Championship is here. Big questions have been raised if certain teams fail to deliver the results they're looking for at the World Championship. What changes might they potentially make in the off-season? Octane has given his thoughts on the fact that if OpTic don't bounce back well from their top 12 at Major 4, they will have to do something post-World Championship. But are they even at risk of one of their absolute star players walking away from the team? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Here was Scump, by the way, responding to that tweet from Form we looked at yesterday. We take over soon. Whatever you think that might potentially mean. These were the numbers, by the way, for the event. It weren't great, let's be real. Major 4 viewership stats. Peak viewers were down basically like 50% for Major 3. Now, obviously, a few reasons for this. No Scump stream because he's in Italy for his wedding right now. OpTic going up top 12, so they didn't have to run. And then, no fans as well. No fans major effect. So, yeah, the numbers were down quite significantly. Like, you can look at this a couple of different ways because on one hand, it's obviously lower, especially given that there were a lot of storylines this event to at least look for, World Championship qualification, stuff like this. But I think, honestly, this is probably about what I'd have expected, given the circumstances. And actually, as EasyMax says here, Austin, to be fair, isn't actually that bad given the situation. And maybe it can prove to some degree to the league that at least these type of events can be okay. Because it's not like the cost of running this was mega, right? You don't have to hire out a massive stadium for 4 days, obviously fill it with a load of fans, all the complicating factors involved with that. This is an event that you can run relatively cheaply, and that's exactly what they've done, of course, over the last few days. It was not great, no fans, all the other problems, but it still held up reasonably well. So what I'm hoping that it doesn't do is prove to the league, hey, we can run more of these. But I think what Austin's trying to get across is like, look, let's have as many majors as we can with fans, and then it's possible to do, other events potentially over the course of the season where maybe that's not the case. Or finding other ways to run LAN tournaments where the costs aren't as crazy as they might be for a normal time. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Dashy, though, he's back on the timeline as he says, back in Texas, let's get active, right? So interesting that OpTic, of course, they went out on the Friday and, well, I mean, sometimes what the players will do is they'll bring their flights back a couple of days earlier just to get straight back to Texas immediately, but clearly not. Of course, Dashy arrived back last night, and look, I'm sure that OpTic have had team talks about what's happened over the last couple of days, their performance this weekend. Like, it's difficult for OpTic in the sense that they only got to play one series. They obviously have a good idea where they're at compared to where they want to be. The loss to Miami, so many mistakes made, especially I would say in that game 5 on that Karachi search and destroy. But even to get to that point wasn't great either. Would have been interesting to see had they won that series, how they would have fared against Toronto, for example, on LAN at least. Would have been good to see that one. And OpTic, of course, would have liked to make something of a run so they get a bit more of a realization where they are, because turning up, playing one series and going home isn't a great setup at all going into the World Championship in a couple of weeks' time. He also confirms as well the stream is going to be on. So intrigued to hear what Dashy says when the stream does go active. I'm guessing, later on today, talking about what they're focusing on going into the World Championship, because, I'm sure they're going to be grinding. They're going to be thinking about it a lot. And I'm sure they've had some serious team talks. I will mention quickly as well, the tweets that Kenny put out, the one that said not getting on the hard points basically at the end of the game, GG's Miami, embarrassing or whatever he said out of the tournament. He actually deleted that one, basically said they need to lock into the World Championship, right? But that tweet that was talking about exactly what went wrong, which was actually this one, not even on the hill to end a hard point, GG's Miami need to lock in for champs, that's been deleted, as has basically every other tweet that Kenny's done. He's actually done, he's been tweeting a fair few things over the last couple of weeks talking about he did a tweet that implied their comms, basically what they were working on behind the scenes wasn't really working, right? He said that we have the team talks and then it doesn't actually translate. That tweet got deleted as well. This one is still up. This one is still up from the 29th of June. But apart from that, and this one is still up. Before that, though, he deleted everything. So back to the middle of June, every tweet effectively on OpTic over the last couple of weeks is gone. So you can speculate as to why, whether, Hex has come in and said, hey, all of these tweets that are talking about problems in the team, whatever, they need to go, or whether Kenny just realized himself, okay, let's just get that stuff off the timeline, hit the mental refresh, and come in hard for the World Championship, right? And of course, he talks about, replying to fans and stuff. This tweet is still up. Most things, though, have, interestingly enough, been deleted. This one, though, is still here, right? It's the final run to the World Championship, the final push, whatever you want to say, and look, they've got to deliver a much better performance. Top 12 at the most recent major, not pretty at all. They can't get top 12 at the World Championship, championship because there's only 8 teams there. But if you look at the bracket, they play Gorillas round 1, which is, all things considered, one of the harder games, I think, and potentially the more upset potential games you're going to find. I mean, Gorillas just got top 3, and they got top 3 beating, okay, Toronto, obviously very impressive. Sure, you can look at Caveats, Ultra, were expecting an easy win, whatever, but still, they beat Toronto and they beat Thieves in the second round, and now they're going to play OpTic here. And sure, when Gorillas got to the championship Sunday, you know, FaZe and New York certainly handled business, but those were the 2 teams that ended up in the finals. OpTic didn't quite get anywhere near. So that is the concern. And of course, the other question would be, how far do OpTic need to go to justify this team staying together for next season, right? Because yes, they won an event at Major 3, and we've seen what that team can do when they're on point. But if you can't replicate that every single event, then obviously you've got to make the argument, if you're OpTic, that a change might be needed, especially if there are some sort of internal problems behind the scenes. It feels to me that there's got to be someone that's not seeing eye to eye with each other, because to go from winning Major 3 to losing like 7 series in a row, you know, it can't just be complacency at that point. There's got to be more to it behind the scenes than meets the eye. So that's kind of why I would say if they don't really deliver at champs, they will make some sort of move. Now, if they win, obviously they'll stick. If they come second, what will they do? If they come third, fourth, you know, top 6, this is where the question is. But this is what Octane says, that if OpTic effectively don't win champs or can't bounce back, and maybe they end up top 4, top 3, something like that, they've got to consider a move.
If I think I have a bad placing in champs, so you keep the squad together and make a change, they probably make a roster change. I think if you end the year this way, you probably make a change. I know they won an event, but ending the year, if they perform bad at champs, back-to-back vibes or chalks, they probably make a change. I would not be surprised. Maybe change on OpTic. Depends who they want to go after, man. I don't know. I think you can make an argument for all of them. No, bro. Ant might fucking leave. That's worst case. Ant might just fucking hit.
So, of course, the standard talking point over the last couple of weeks has been, if OpTic are to make a change, then the changes they would look for would be, you know, for Pred, I guess. This is Pred performance this stage. It really is incredible how Pred, at the start of the year, you know, his lineman cards 90 rated, 85 rated, something in that ballpark. But and I didn't think I'd ever see a world where Pred had in the 60s for a rating. But yeah, I mean, he 67 rated card, 0.67 KD in Surge. It's not like the worst we've seen. The classic Exceed Burger King card had a 0.51 KD in Surge. I'm pretty sure even on Pred's team last year, the Seattle Surge, they had that horrid run in Surge where Accuracy and Sib both had like 0.5s. So, you know, that was bad. But this is pretty bad as well, right? I mean, Pred's drop off in Surge, obviously Kenny's drop off as well in terms of impact as well. And look, there's obviously been talk about Kenny massively during Major 3 when they won it and all the positive attributes that he had. We know that he has also talked about when his team isn't necessarily playing the right way, Kenny can struggle a bit because he's got to micromanage a lot. Their Search, though, 2 in 12. They won their first 2. They then lost the subsequent 12. So, yeah, it's not like their respawn was even that bad. It's just the Search and Destroy that was massively problematic. But, like, okay, the respawn numbers look fine-ish, but when you look at the actual way in which they lost some of the ones that they did, that is a concern. But that's been the point, right? Like, if you're going to blow this roster up, if it doesn't work, if the team isn't seeing eye to eye, what do you do? Do you try and get Scrappy? You know, maybe impossible given the contract stuff. Do you try and get HyDra? Also maybe impossible given the contract stuff. But I think that's been the general talking point over the last couple of weeks, is that, okay, you know, if they do need to do something, maybe HyDra for Pred or whatever. That, of course, has been thrown around. So I guess my question would be on the situation, like, is there the possibility of even further changes than just that? Because the Shotzzy question is an interesting one, as Octane mentions. If this team that won Major 3 falls off and just can't win anything and just completely collapses for the rest of the year, will Shotzzy have faith that this is the place to be? Now look, Shotzzy is the face of OpTic. He's been part of that organisation for a long time. I don't really know how much organisational loyalty Shotzzy feels to the Green Wall. I'm sure there is obviously something there, but I don't believe that Shotzzy would never consider a move elsewhere, given what potentially might happen. We actually know, to our understanding, this nearly happened a couple of years ago. So Scump was going to retire going into Modern Warfare 2. He decided not to, and he played the start of the season, potentially because if Scump had have retired going into last year, Shotzzy would have probably gone to FaZe. That was the rumour, that effectively FaZe wanted Shotzzy. They were going to work that out. They were going to have like aBeZy and Shotzzy on the SMGs, and then obviously Simp it would have been, and Cellium, effectively effectively Simp would flex, I guess, Cell would have become the main or whatever. That's what they were looking to do. But because Scump stayed around, Shotzzy stayed on OpTic, and, you know, the rest since then is history. But it doesn't paint a picture to me that Shotzzy would never consider it. Like, let's say FaZe, they also don't win the World Championship, and they decide, all right, we're going to make another change. Maybe Drazah's gone or whatever. Hey, Shotzzy, do you want to actually do it this time? And Shotzi's looking at the situation thinking, well, you know, I win occasionally on OpTic, and obviously it's a great place to be and all this, but, you know, want to win more prize money, want to win more championships, potentially win a world championship. Does it make sense to go to FaZe that have a record of, you know, being in every single finals? So it is something to think about, that if this OpTic team comes, you know, if they bow out top 8 at champs, for example, they come dead last again, I don't see a one-man move really fixing the problem at that point. I feel like there might be other situations that occur, and even, I'm not saying OpTic are going to drop Dashy, but, you know, let's say FaZe also don't win, they come top 3 or something, and it's New York versus Ultra again in the finals, or even OpTic make the finals, whatever. FaZe might decide, you know, do they want to switch things up? Do they want to reach out to Dashy and make that work? I don't know. I don't think Dashy would leave OpTic for another offer, even from FaZe, unless he was, like, you know, forced out of OpTic, whereas I think Shotzzy may at least think about it. There's also been rumours maybe that Los Angeles Thieves are willing to spend a bit more money this upcoming off-season, so, you know, like, would Kenny think about maybe I'll go back over there? I don't know, like, so many questions right now, but I think Octane is correct to suggest that this OpTic team will have to do something if champs doesn't go so well, and it could potentially be pretty ugly depending on how things go. Enjoy your thoughts in the comments. This is worse though from Boston Breach. They were 1 in 10 in hardpoint this stage, 3 in 7 in search, 2 in 6 in control, an absolute disaster. 49 rated for Major Maniac. Yeah, he's going to be out of the league again. Priestahh had a 52 rated card. Snoopy, he capped some points in control, so fair play, and his search was alright, but obviously he wasn't good in the respawns overall. Beans was again their best player, but it still wasn't a great stage for him. What do you do if you're Boston next year? That is my question really. How many of these guys do you keep? You keep absolute maximum 2 with Snoopy and Beans, I would say, if you're going to go down that route. I think Priestahh can get a spot elsewhere in the league again potentially, but absolutely was not a great performance from him this year. I think they may keep 1 of these guys, they may keep 2 of these guys. If Beans isn't kept, I feel like he should probably get a spot elsewhere, but yeah, time will only tell. Just one final quick thing to mention I thought was interesting. We were talking, of course, about the FaZe guys yesterday, the fact that they've made so many finals, so many top 3s, and just failed to win a number of those events, and the Subliners are on the verge of potentially trying to go back-to-back in World Championship wins, which would really open the door in terms of what we talk about in terms of eras or dynasties or whatever. I don't really think I'd put New York in that category, even if they do go back-to-back World Championships, but, you know, no one's ever done that before, so it definitely raises the question. But the fact that FaZe keep losing, there was a question raised when we were doing the Dope Check show last night, which is now, of course, live on Spotify and on the YouTube channel, if you guys want to check it out on the Breaking Point stuff, that FaZe have just no competition basically all year. They always win all their scrims, they win basically all of their matches until the Sunday, so as soon as there's some adversity, as soon as there's some difficulty to overcome, then they struggle. And actually Slasher says, you know, maybe there's something to this, he says. Like, basically he likes to practice at a disadvantage, either ping-wise or something like that, to try and put yourself at a disadvantage that maybe FaZe just aren't feeling, and when that does occur, all of a sudden they can't seem to pick up the pieces. But very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.